So I'm going to talk a little bit about Metro and NetBeans and securing web services with SAML tokens and all kind of cool stuff. So, and some of the issues I had when I was trying to do it. So, of course, there's no shortage of tutorials on the internet on how to do this. The problem I had was finding one that actually worked in and of itself. So, the best ones seem to be from this person here, Glenn Maz's weblog. He has a boatload of stuff here on this, on securing web services with different flavors of web service providers like Axis and CXF and so forth, and Metro, and how to convert, how to use different ones and interop with different ones. With the Metro ones, though, I had some issues with the instructions bouncing back and forth between Metro's guide and come back here and do this and then go over there and do that and come back here and do this. The other issue I had was were with the keys. The NetBeans stuff kind of assumes you're using Glassfish, and of course everything is based on the fact that you're using the keys that come with Glassfish, and well, in the real world that's not going to be the case, and when you try and use it with self-signed certificates it just wasn't working, and then you had to turn on development mode, I guess, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be as realistic as possible because you will have to have your own keys installed and things like that. The other issue is when doing this with JDK6, there's a JAX compatibility problem. Metro uses JAX 2.2. JDK6 comes with JAX, I think it's 2.1 if I remember correctly, and it's just annoying. Yes, so the trying to build it with NetBeans was causing me problems, and then of course trying to deploy it on Tomcat was causing me problems because I didn't have the right jacks, and so it was just one thing after another, and eventually I did get it all working on my Windows box here. So what I did was I'm leaving the Windows one alone because I know it works, and now I want to try and basically recreate it to see if I can come up with my own procedure to do it consistently. So the way I'm doing that is I went and got the pre-built developer VM from Oracle, and it comes with NetBeans and Glassfish, and what I did was I customized that VM. If you look at some of my videos on the channel, where I can expand these VMs, so I created another home directory with 40 gig, synced their home directory over to the larger one, applied all the updates to NetBeans, installed the latest version of Tomcat, version 6, the highest number of version 6 I could get, and then exported that off, so now I have a starting point where I can start over and go through it all step by step. Okay, so the other thing you're going to have to do also is you're going to need well, I think we just do JDK and we get what we want. So if we go here to the downloads, the other thing you're going to need is the latest JCE. So I downloaded the JCE Unlimited Strength for JDK6, and that also has to get installed. So what we're going to do now is take a look at some of that stuff. So if we go over to my virtual machine here, okay, I have my own CVS repository, and I've been keeping the scripts in to build the keys. Okay, so here's the setup. So basically, there's this web services API jar, and from what I could tell, this is JAX WS 2.2 as far as Metro's implementation is concerned. So if we go to the NetBeans install, now this is going to be very similar on Windows also. So if we go into software, we go to NetBeans, we can do find, and we can do a find on that. Okay, and you'll see it here, and basically what we want to do is copy that to the endorsed areas. So what we had to do is JDK has a JRE, it has a lib, and it's endorsed. Now this folder won't exist, so you'll have to create that and then copy that jar into it. Copy the one from the NetBeans install into that location, and then you'll also have to do the same for Tomcat. You'll have to create the Apache endorsed folder, and then you'll copy that same jar file into there. So now your NetBeans will match your JDK, and it will also match what's in Apache. Now, the trouble I had was when you create the STS in NetBeans, if you don't have the endorsed library, you'll get compiler errors. Now, I don't think if you're building this yourself, let's say with Maven or something outside of NetBeans, I don't think you need to have this in here, of course, because you can point it to anything you want. But I think if you're using the NetBeans IDE, you won't be able to, you'll get lots of red dots if you don't do this. However, I don't think you need it with Apache either if you do it here. I haven't tried mix matching all the different combinations yet, but the whole point behind setting up this VM was so I could do just that. The other thing is the end result basically is to put a SOAP monitor on this, and so I can see exactly what's happening with the messages going back and forth, make sure the tokens are actually there and what those tokens look like. So this is also a good way to learn it. Trying to run monitors on Windows can sometimes be iffy at best because of driver things. So Linux tends to be a better solution for that. So the whole goal here is to have a Linux box that I can basically refresh every time and try different combinations of this, and then see the differences, going on in the messages. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is the JCE. So what I did was I downloaded the zip file, I unzipped it, it creates this JCE folder, and you'll have 2 jars, and basically what you have to do is these jars have to be copied to let's see, I think it's JRE again, lib security. Okay, these 2 jars have to replace the ones that are here. You have to be careful because you'll depending on which platform you're on, you might have to be root, because you see here these are marked read only, so you won't be able to overlay them unless you're root. So these were overlaid today, as you can see when I set this up. So so let me go over my checklist. So we created the endorsed libraries, we copied the NetBeans web services, we have our JCE. Okay, two other things I wanted to talk about here is if we go into my dev again, this is my CVS checkout. Okay, the other thing is when you create the STS using the NetBeans wizard, it doesn't build WebXML and JAX-WS properly. So I saved these off after I went through the trials and tribulations of figuring that out. I did manage to stumble across a couple of links on the internet that explained this. There were a couple of open Jira issues at the NetBeans Metro Jira sites that were talking about this and explained how to do it, and some compatibility issues between Glassfish and JDK and JEE and EE6 and EE5. So by saving these off, I can just fix them as when I need them, and we'll see that when I actually start building the STS. We're also going to need this plain text validator when we build our STS. So the next important thing here we're doing though are the keys. So we're going to need to create our own certs. So the way I got around it was I created these scripts. So I found a website on the internet where they have a Perl script that creates all the directories you need to set up basically your own signing authority. So I created Fred's signing certificate authority, and it has the OpenSSL commands needed to create your own certs that you can use to sign with your signing certs, and then you copy them into the database that you create. And then of course I needed to create the private keys for those certs, because these have to be imported into our key stores that we're going to be using with Tomcat and such, and the web services. Okay, so I have all these scripts, and apparently not enough coffee, so I can't stop yawning. And so I set up these scripts to basically build all of these in one swoop. So it's going to basically create our signing certificates, then we're going to create our requests for all our certs